To install the latest release of ePADD, version 10.0 alpha, you will need to download the latest ePADD distribution file from GitHub. We can provide a link to the relevant web page. The file is found under the heading Assets. For those using Windows, only the exe file is needed. Those using Macs will need the DMG file. The Appraisal module is the default module in ePADD. It is one of 4 modules: Appraisal, Processing, Discovery and Delivery. The module allows users to review email archives on a local server prior to their transfer to an archival repository. When first launched, you will find yourself on the Import screen. This interface is where you enter information about the owner of the email account, so for example name and an associated email address, and specify the location and account information of the files or IMAP email accounts that ePADD will be ingesting. One of the most significant pieces of work undertaken by the ePADD Plus project's development team has been the integration of ePADD with email commie, an email conversion tool. This provides users with the ability to import many more file formats than was possible in previous versions of ePADD, as well as the ability to export emails in formats other than Mbox, which is ePADD's standard format. For example, users can export to EML if that is a preferred preservation format. Although ePADD is free, to use the integrated version of email commie, users must purchase a license from the developers WeirdKids software and create a license dongle which will enable those features in ePADD. The license dongle is simply the license key installed on a USB stick. This dongle needs to be inserted into the computer each time email commie is used. The status of the email commie license, whether it has been enabled or not, is noted on the import screen. Here you can see that the license is active. If we remove the license dongle, however, it then becomes inactive. When the email commie license is active, users can point either to a specific non-Mbox file or to a folder containing one file or several. ePADD produces a list of folders contained within those non-Mbox files. In this particular instance, it is a PST file. We can select the folders we would like to import, and they are then available to us in ePADD's Appraisal module. After the import, the data is stored in the ePADD Appraisal folders located in the user directory. ePADD creates what is known as a canonical acquisitioned file. Canonical acquisitioned in this context refers to the unmodified form of email as originally received by ePADD and not yet subject to any conversion, appraisal or processing. ePADD stores the original unconverted PST file as well as any untouched Mbox files. Mbox files generated by email commie are stored in the folder Appraisal Normalized Acquisitioned. Another new feature in this version of ePADD is the ability to import what we call Sidecar files. A Sidecar file is a file that is not necessarily part of an email archive, but which contains information that is relevant to it, such as a donor agreement, finding aid, or metadata file. ePADD allows users to import, export, list, and delete Sidecar files. ePADD uses SHA-256 and MD5 checksums. The use of the SHA-256 is new to this version of ePADD. If an email archive was imported using an earlier version, it will not have been subject to this particular checksum, but ePADD now has a new feature that enables users to update checksums. Both SHA-256 and MD5 checksums are stored in the ePADD Appraisal directory. One of the new features developed for the ePADD Plus project is the ability to capture a richer set of metadata, both automatically and manually. Here we have examples of metadata that can be added manually. Clicking the information button on the main browse page opens a window with information about the collection. Clicking the metadata button brings you to the page for adding or editing metadata. On the tabs here we can switch between collection, EAD and premise. The collection metadata in this particular tab was already a feature in earlier versions of ePADD. You can add some basic information about the collection, title, short description, scope and content. We can do the same for EAD. And also for premise. Here imported PST files and Mbox files are listed together. We can add or amend premise metadata for an individual file. And the premise metadata is available in both XML and JSON formats. The premise XML and JSON files contain manually added premise metadata, as well as some metadata automatically added by ePADD, such as date and time of ingest, or the number of attachments in a collection. In this latest version of ePADD, users can add a premise event manually by selecting a premise event type from a drop-down list. You can add further information to the free text details field and enter the date and time of the event. This event is recorded in the premise XML file. Thanks to the integration of ePADD and email commie, it is now possible for users to export an email archive to EML rather than MBOX, if that is the preferred preservation format. Exporting appraised emails in this way creates a file directory which replicates the folder structure and contains the EML files. ePADD allows users to export either single emails or batches of emails, and it will include any labels or annotations attached to the emails. The processing module provides archivists with the means to arrange and describe email archives on a local server. To move to the processing module, the appraised email archive has to be exported. On the main screen, we select Export, select Browse under Export to Next ePADD module, and select the location where ePADD is to export the email archive. If we look at the file directory, we can see that the emails have been exported to the designated folder along with all of the related information. To open up the processing module, we need to restart ePADD and click on the relevant collection. If we want, we can check and amend the collection or premise metadata. To enter the processing module itself, we simply click Enter. From the processing module, we can export the emails to ePADD's discovery and delivery module. The discovery module provides the tools for archives and libraries to remotely share a redacted view of email archives with users through a public web server. The delivery module enables them to provide moderated full-text access to unrestricted email archives within a reading room environment on a local server. Again, we follow the process we used for transferring emails from the appraisal module to the processing module. Starting in the discovery and delivery modules is very similar to how we started the processing module. We click on the relevant collection and module. In this example, we've selected the discovery module. The dashboard has fewer options as it's designed for access only. As I mentioned earlier, the discovery module is designed to run under a web server and allow remote users to search redacted header info and extracted entities while limiting full text access to the materials.